Welcome to my YouTube channel. I built this mini virtual pinball machine to get better at 3D modeling so I could make my own 3D prints. With that goal in mind, I wanted to make the cheapest possible machine, but I still wanted it to have every feature possible that would fit inside. In building this mini pin, I ran into some serious issues and problems to overcome. The video is about overcoming the small print size of a 3D printer's build plate. I will have all my plans available for download in the description below so you can follow along with this tutorial. Feel free to do this project for yourself if you want to build a cheap mini pin. Disclaimer: for these files to work for you, you will need the latest version of SketchUp. There is a free browser version of SketchUp online you can use to familiarize yourself with the program and follow along with this tutorial. I have a tip on how you can get a SketchUp Pro subscription for a good price coming up later in the video. If you find value in this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel. My goal is to get over 1,000 subs this month. I used my Bamboo Labs 3D printer and my favorite 3D modeling software, SketchUp, and put them to the test, where I 3D printed everything possible for my virtual pinball machine. Follow along with me and take a deep dive into what is possible for your virtual pinball project. You too can print some of these great models for yourself, and I will show you how. From SketchUp's extension warehouse you can download and install the plugin, STL Import Export. With this plugin you can turn your 3D models into viable 3D prints. However, there are some challenges that need to be overcome. Let me show you what I mean. Select the model you wish to 3D print. I chose the lockdown bar. Go to File tab, and then scroll down to STL Export. Save your file. Double-click the exported file, and the slicer software Bamboo Studios will open. You can see why this is a problem. The lockdown bar will not fit on the build plate. Let me show you how to work around this issue and print this model anyways. We are back in SketchUp now. Let's select the lockdown bar. We want to make a copy of it, and we do that by using the Move tool and the Control button on the keyboard. Select the Move tool icon or simply push the M button on a keyboard. In SketchUp, when you move your model anywhere and hit the Control button on your keyboard, your model will make a copy of itself, leaving the original model where you started. Working from the origin point is easiest for me. Before I place my moved model, I must remember to hit the Control key, if not the lockdown bar will not copy itself. In this video I practiced bisecting 3D models into two parts so they will fit on a build plate that is 256mm by 256mm. I also want to show you how to make your two bisected parts fit back together like Lego. Note this: we must right-click our selected copy model to bring up the right-click menu, then scroll down to Make Unique and select it. If we do not do this, the changes we make to the copy will affect the real 3D model. Our next step involves making our model flat. You can see our lockdown bar is pitched up slightly. We also need to print it upside down because it will speed up the print process and use less filament. Let us now rotate the lockdown bar. Do that by selecting the Rotate tool or by hitting the Q key on your keyboard. Grab a corner of your model when the rotation tool turns red. For the best results, follow the grab by using the model's natural geometry. When you rotate to the green origin plane, you have made your model flat. Select the letter M for the Move tool. Grab the corner and move the lockdown bar to the origin point. Now let's make a guide to bisect the model. Hit the T key on your keyboard or select the Tape tool icon. Grab a guide from the model's edge and drag it to the center. Circle the circle and your guide should snap to the dead center of the model. Now we are going to draw a flat rectangle to bisect our model where we placed our guide. Let's move around to our origin point again and draw a rectangle that is wider and taller than our lockdown bar. Hit the R key or select the Rectangle tool. We are going to need to make our rectangle a solid. We can do that by mouse clicking 3 times on our rectangle. We then need to right-click and select Make Group from the right-click menu. We will then move our solid rectangle to its new home on our guideline we made earlier. Press spacebar to select the Select tool. Then triple-click on the lockdown bar to select inside the model and highlight everything. Right-click to access the right-click menu and choose Intersect Faces with Model. We no longer need the rectangle, so select it with the Select tool and hit the Delete key on your keyboard. You can see by using intersect faces with model we have created separation lines in our model, which will now allow us to split the model in half. We now need to select into the model without highlighting everything. Another way of doing that is to use the right-click menu and select the feature, Edit Component, or Edit Group. The next step is to make a selection window by left-click dragging. Start your window drag from just over the center bisection line to the end of the model. Now with that portion of the model selected, we are going to use the Move tool and the keyboard's Control button to copy half our model. Just like you see here. Now we are going to repeat these steps on the left side of the model. Make a selection window by left-click dragging. Start your window drag from the left side of our model and drag to the center of the model. Note, you need to window drag from left to right, as dragging from right to left is a different function in SketchUp. Now that our model is selected, we are going to copy the left side of the model. Use the Move tool and the keyboard's Control button to copy the other half of our model. Let's perform another window drag to select our inner model. Once the inner model is selected, hit the Delete key on your keyboard. We now need to delete unwanted lines in our model. Simply select Unwanted Lines and hit the Delete key on your keyboard. Next, when we copy our model by bisecting it, we often have missing faces in our model. We must add these faces back into our model to make a solid 3D print. Missing faces are very bad but easy to correct. Hit the L key or select the pencil tool, then connect 2 points where a face should be present. You can now see all the faces filling back into our model. In order for your slicer software to work properly, your 3D models need to be solid. No missing faces at all, otherwise you will have nothing but problems in your prints, which will waste your time and your money. Mostly time is the issue for me, as it can take days before I can get back to my project and figure out exactly what I did to mess up my print. We now need to separate our model into 2 individual parts. To do this, deselect our model by hitting the spacebar on your keyboard, then left-click anywhere outside of our selected model. Right-click anywhere on the bisected lockdown bar model to open the right-click menu, then scroll down to the Explode option and left-click it. Now these 2 halves are separated. However, we now need to take each half and make them individual groups from each other. To do this, select one half of the model by performing a window drag. Right-click on the selected model to bring up the right-click menu, then scroll down to Make Group and left-click it. Perform the same actions for the other half of our model. We are now going to add connecting pieces that join our 2 halves together when the print is completed. What I like to do is use the tape tool to draw myself some guides so I can easily draw uniform shapes that will fit into our adjoining piece. Our model is roughly 5 mm thick. So, if I make guidelines from the top and the bottom at 1.5 mm, I should be left with 2 mm of thickness for the protruding joining pieces we are going to create. No need to make perfect measurements for these vertical lines. We just need to make sure that we are at least 5 mm away from any edge. This is to ensure the strength and structural integrity of our model. Creating guidelines in SketchUp will ensure accuracy in the models you create. Most of the models I make in SketchUp are on a 1:1 scale, meaning what you see is what you get. You will see what I mean once you print your first 3D model from SketchUp. Sorry to sound like an advertisement, but if you see value in this program SketchUp, I thought I would mention to any parents out there that have kids in school. You can buy a SketchUp subscription for your kids much cheaper than you could for yourself. My hope is one day my sons will take an interest in 3D modeling. When and if they do, I will be ready to teach them, because I have loved creating in SketchUp since 2015. Every arcade and every virtual pin project I have ever made started right here in SketchUp. Anyways, I digress. After we finish making all our guidelines, we can switch over to the pencil tool and connect our guides' intersection points. Select the pencil tool's icon or press L on your keyboard. Go from intersection to intersection, left-clicking on every point. Notice, you can see we are making thin rectangular shapes on our lockdown bars model. Now that we have created our shapes inside our model, it is time to extrude them. Select the Push-Pull tool or press P on your keyboard. As we hover over the shape in the model, you can see it, Shade Highlight. Single left click on the shade highlighted part and drag away from the model. I want 10 mm of pull out, so type in 10, then press enter on your keyboard. Repeat that process for all our drawn shapes. Let's clean up our model by getting rid of the guidelines we created. Scroll over to the Edit tab. Scroll down to Delete Guides and left click. We are now going to make one last copy. Select our model with a left click. Then select the Move tool icon or press M on your keyboard. Select the bottom corner of our model and move toward the other half of the model and press the Control key on your keyboard to leave a copy. Move our model into the other half of the lockdown bar. Check and make sure we are perfectly lined up with the other half of our model. If you stayed with this video this long, I think you're really going to like our next few moves, and I wish I knew about this years ago. It would have saved me so much time on many projects from the past. Scroll up and left click on the Tools tab. Scroll down to Solid Tools from the side menu, scroll over and choose Subtract. Left click the left model, then left click the right model. The left model subtracted itself from the right model, which means now our two halves can fit perfectly into each other. Let's do exactly that. We will fit them into each other and then we will set them up side by side so we can fit them on a Bamboo Labs P1SS build plate. We will then use the STL Import Export plugin to make our STL file, so our slicer software, Bamboo Studio, can slice our model. Choose the rotate icon or press Q on your keyboard. From the side of your model, press a left click when the rotation tool turns blue. Scroll your mouse away from your model and this will create a guideline. Then move your guideline around until it changes to a solid color, then left click your mouse. Rotate in your desired direction until your guideline turns the same color again. Your model should now be rotated 180 degrees. I will now move our two pieces closer together to shore it up a bit. That's close enough. Let's make our STL file now. Preform a window drag to select both halves of our model. Now go to the File tab and scroll to Export STL and left click. A Save File menu should appear for you. Make sure to check the box that says Export Only Current Selection, then do a left click on the Export button. You should then name and save your file. Minimize your SketchUp window. Double-click the saved STL file to open Bamboo Studio. Voila! The lockdown bar fits perfectly on the build plate. Let's do a fake slice to see if we get any errors. Looks good, and in less than 5 hours a new lockdown bar can be printed. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment.